Hello everyone, today's topic is the infamous PERM, labor certification. What it is, how it works. Let's talk about it in detail, let's break it down so you can make an informed decision. Let's get to it. Okay, so what is PERM? PERM is a term of art for labor certification. So the next question is, what is labor certification? Labor certification is an immigration term of art that specifies, whenever someone is being sponsored in the employment context, you are supposed to not hurt the American employment market. So you go ahead and certify a job. In other words, you certify your need for a specific job, for an objective position, not specific to an individual. I want to stress that, which we'll talk about. Basically, you go ahead and show that before you can sponsor someone, you do have this need, a genuine need for an employee, and you cannot get this employee from the available applicants, available job market. PERM is applied with Department of Labor. Unfortunately, right now, the processing times are literally crazy. We're looking at a minimum of approximately 2 years. And because of that, whoever is going through this PERM process should be very careful. The reason for that is you only get to be in a position to sponsor someone after all this time and all this effort. You want to make sure that the employer is in a position to sustain that job. They still have that need. You see, with large employers out there, if they're not in a position to hire any more people, if they're laying people off, those PERM applications kaput, they go away, because you cannot at one hand, lay people off, downsize, and then at the same time you are trying to sponsor someone for a new job. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't make sense. So you need to be really careful. That's why it's kind of a last resort. If there is an exception to the PERM to sponsor, people want to take advantage of that. But as the law prescribes, the PERM is the rule. There is not supposed to be, unless an exception applies, like EB-1 or national interest waiver, the rule is there is supposed to be a labor certification. In other words, the law says your sponsorship of someone for a green card through a job is not supposed to hurt the job market, right? Let's talk about the timeline. Let me break down how it works and why it takes about 2 years. So the process starts with filing a prevailing wage determination application. But to file that, you need a job description. So that's where our expertise comes in. We help the employers find a job or, come up with the job description for the existing need, an objective one. Use this job description and first get an official determination of how much of the wage that's going to apply. That's the first step. We talk to the employer, position available, we come up with the objective requirements of a job. Let's say you have you have an accountant. Let's say, and it could be anything, because PERM is not specific to any category. It could be an unskilled worker. You can do a PERM for an EB-3. It could be as simple as minimum wage worker in a fast food restaurant. It's all about coming up with the right description for the job, and then you have this need, and then you file. You file this prevailing wage determination application with the Department of Labor. Right now, as of the date of this shooting of this video, it takes about 6 to 7 months to get that determination. In other words, you only get the official amount of salary, the amount you're supposed to pay, only after, 7 to 8 months. That's a significant time period. And after that, you're supposed to go through, before you can certify someone, before you file the PERM application, you're supposed to go through recruitment. You need to follow certain type of advertisement arrangements. This is heavily regulated. To be able to certify a PERM application, you need to follow certain requirements. You need to advertise in a certain way. There are 10 criteria. You need to meet 3 out of 10. Those are usually not easy. It usually costs time and money. And then you advertise. You recruit. At the end of this process, after following all the procedures, only then you get to apply for the PERM application, which is, it's a job. It's a form you file with the Department of Labor, and basically you're saying, this is the employer, this is the job, this is the official wage determination I got, these are the recruitment efforts I've did, I was unable to find anyone. And because of that, please certify such and such individual, the prospective employee. That is the PERM application. And like I said, to get there, it's going to take about 8 to 9 months. And then, unfortunately, currently the processing time for a PERM application is about 15 months. Nothing happens during this 15 months. So you just wait. In total, it takes about approximately 2 years to get that labor certification approved. Things could go wrong here. Like I said, something could happen to the employer. The need could change and, they could start laying off people and such. You could be hit with an audit. The Department of Labor can say, oh, okay, we think there's an irregularity here. We have a problem with the way you prepared this job description, or we have a problem with this individual. If you're hit with an audit, that's increased processing time. Now, after approximately 2 years, after all this time, only then you're able to apply, you're able to sponsor that individual. You are able to file the I-140 application. This category, this type of sponsorship is subject to visa restrictions. Usually the visa is not immediately available. In other words, depending on the category, it could be like EB2, EB3, there's a wait time. Until that priority date becomes current, the individual, the employee cannot apply for green card. If the individual is in the country, they're going to be applying for an I-485 application. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes a while for the I-485 application to be filed. And then on top of that, after you file, there could be another wait time before the final action date becomes current and the green card itself is issued. So it's extremely complicated, unfortunately. And in oversubscribed countries, like immigrants from countries like India, the wait time, the prior date is around 10 years. But there's an advantage to getting an I-140 approved. Usually, the arrangement is the relationship between an employer and employee in an existing relationship, like an H-1B. With an I-140 approved, you usually get an extension on H-1B. As you know from our previous videos, H-1B is maximum 6 years. But you get to extend that with an approved I-140. So that's why, unfortunately, an Indian national under the EB2, EB3 category could be working in an H-1B position for more than a decade. That's really crazy when you think about it. But this is basically PERM. If you have any questions about this, the reason for me to shoot videos like this is for my clients to understand the process, for them, for the employers and employees alike to make an informed decision. So if you think you need help with something like this, feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to guide you through the process and answer your questions. Thank you for watching and keep in touch. Bye-bye.